Mass Effect 2 was, at one point, my favorite game of all time. Or one of my favorites, I should say. It ended up, not being as much as my favorite this time, because, well, this is the basic bitch insanity run. I guess it's to be expected that it wasn't going to be great, but just the amount of nonsense that happened in this run is just so scary to think about. Because, yes, while it's fun to just run around as a soldier doing all running and gunning, having to go without ammo powers, it really scared me with the way things had to work. And there ended up being a lot of challenge in the game. But worst of all, a lot of nonsense ended up creeping in as I noticed while I was playing the game. I noticed technical issues that apparently I had not seen back in the original version of the game. And further down the line, towards the end of all the recording, something happened that I did not think was even possible. Something I absolutely could not comprehend. And yeah, I did the challenge, but at what cost? Because this run, it was absolute hell.
Welcome to hell, motherfucker!
It's literally the Keith David meme. But anyway, so I did manage to do it. So we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to show off some of the deaths, some of the good stuff, and some fun little skits, I guess I'm going to refer to them as. Alright, the rules for the run are as follows. Obviously, following up with Mass Effect 1's rules, I can only use the default N7 armor, and the default weapons being the Avenger assault rifle, the Predator pistol, the Katana shotgun, the Mantis sniper rifle, and the grenade launcher that you start the game off with. I cannot use ammo powers. I allowed myself to use upgrades, namely, of course, like the bonus upgrades that we can apply, because given how much hell the run ended up being, I thought it would fit, and it helped just a little bit to use them. But obviously, for the ultimate challenge, you don't want to be adding any of those upgrades at all, and pretty much the only upgrades you'd be allowed in general would just be to upgrade to Normandy in case you want to try to do a suicide mission where everyone lives, like I ended up doing, of course. Other optional objectives are, of course, to make your companions do it, and 100% the game, which is exactly what I did. So, none of my companions were using their ammo powers either, with the obvious exception of Jacob just for the starting missions, because there's no way to get rid of his ammo powers. So, that's the only exception you're allowed to make in the game. As soon as you're able to get a third companion, though, which Zaeed's literally right there on Omega, you have to get rid of Jacob, and once you get the Shadow Broker DLC done, you have to reset his powers as well as the powers of Jack, Garrus, and Thane in order to use them if you're going to go for the basic bitch insanity run where characters don't have ammo powers like I did. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. This is Can I Beat Mass Effect 2 on Basic Bitch Insanity mode. So first thing I want to talk about as we start the game is the fact that I don't like the new conversation between Miranda and the Elusive Man that starts the game. I always preferred the one where they were talking about what happened to the Council, because it just made more sense. With this new conversation, they literally just took some voice lines that everyone was going to say later anyways, and or they didn't use the first time, and replaced all the words, and it just annoys the hell out of me.
Shepard did everything right. More than we could have hoped for.
Commander Shepard uncovered the truth.
And still, it's not enough.
We're at war. No one wants to admit it, but humanity is under attack.
Shepard did everything right. More than we could have hoped for. Saving the Citadel, even saving the Council. Humanity has the trust of the entire galaxy. And still, it's not enough.
Our sacrifices have earned the Council's gratitude, but Shepard remains our best hope.
But we get through the quick little 5-minute segment of the Normandy being destroyed, and we start the Awakening mission, which takes about 31 minutes, and fortunately for me, I didn't die. So there was basically 0 deaths.
Come on, through here. We're almost at the... Miranda, but you were...
Dead?
What the hell are you doing?
After we leave the station there and visit the Elusive Man, we go to Freedom's Progress, which took about 21 minutes, and I did in fact have 1 death. So after we're done with that, though, and, you know, meeting up with Tali and saying hi and letting her go, we get the whole little cutscene there of Shepard on Normandy, and then we go straight to Omega. We pick up Zaeed, and we go to visit the doctor after we get some upgrades, and the game crashed on me in the middle of getting the upgrades. So I was not happy about that.
How many volts do you think we have with 2 pounds of pennies jammed in the fuse box?
And if I routed it all to a single circuit, like the dimmer switch in the bullpen, maybe spilled an electrolytic solution on the floor for good measure and get Barry to touch said dimmer switch...
Wait. What happened to jamming a big fat electric cable up his asshole?
Well, A, I don't think he even has an asshole, not that I was looking, and B, dimmer switch is way easier.
Okay, but
wait, if you pry Barry's CPU, he can't tell you where Miss Archer is.
Well, I'll worry about that bridge when I come to it.
I kinda think you should worry about it before then.
Krieger, if I worried about a fraction of the stuff I should be worried about, I'd never get anything done.
I know, but...
Oh my god, BPA! Transgendered frogs!
But once I got back in, it took me about 55 minutes to complete Mordin's recruitment mission, and I got 0 deaths, which was pretty awesome. Immediately after, I decided I wanted to make a quick stop to the Normandy crash site mission, which took about 12 minutes, obviously, and 0 deaths since, well, there's nobody to fight. You're literally just running around the crash site of the Normandy. Then I decided the best idea for me to do was to go and do Zaeed's loyalty mission this early. So, obviously, in order to get his loyalty and his bonus power, because on PC I did not have access to the bonus powers yet, I had to go ahead and sacrifice the mining crew that was working, or whatever crew it was. Either way, I had to sacrifice the people in order to get Zaeed's loyalty. And I just want to call bullshit on that being the easier run, because even though I didn't die up until the room that both paths are going to meet up at, I really had to take my time there just to get through it. So the overall mission was 30 1 minute, but I did have just one death. It was fairly quick, and I didn't notice the enemy, but I guess there was an enemy right beside me, and I didn't think to use healing at the time either. I don't know if it was because I was confused or if because I was focusing on something else at the time. Doesn't matter. We got through it. Zaeed got loyal, and I got the grenade power I was going to be using for the whole run.
Let's liven things up, Burrows. 5 grams of junk says I can shoot a pina colada off your wife's head.
Which, yeah, I should probably real quick before I continue this whole run through tell you exactly what my strategy was. See, because I couldn't use ammo powers, I had to use the concussive shot, obviously, for barriers. I had to use Adrenaline Rush just for getting bonus weapon damage. And I had to use Inferno Grenade as a means to get rid of armor. It's kind of possible to use it against shields as well, if you're lucky, but you should only really use it against armor, since it'll burn away the armor of the mechs pretty easily, and it will burn away the health of enemies as well. Keep the ones that are regenerating or use flamethrowers away from you long enough to, kill them. So, in order for me to do, the best strategy, I had to choose the best companions to be bringing along for this run. Miranda ended up being one of, if not the best companions to bring specifically for her power usage. For starters, she has Warp, which is good against both barriers and armor. And then she has Overload, which is good against shields, obviously. So she ended up being an asset that was used a lot. Zaeed and Garrus both were pretty decent to use during fights. Zaeed was perfect for going up against collectors, as he had Concussive Shot, which was good against barriers, and Inferno Grenades, which were good against armor, obviously. Meanwhile, Garrus was better used for going up against enemies like Geth, as he had Overload, which was good against, shields, and Concussive Shot, which was good against barriers. And that was pretty much the 3 major companions I ended up using. I used Thane as well to go up against collector-based enemies, since he has Warp as well, which is good against armor and, I almost said shields, but armor and barriers. And then I didn't really use many other characters for stuff besides their loyalty missions, so that was basically how I did my run. Alright, so going back to the whole thing here, Project Firewalker was pretty much in the same system as Zaeed's mission, so we just went ahead and did that. It was a pretty easy mission, 4 minutes and 0 deaths, and then we went back to Omega to actually continue the main story.
Seriously, Lana, this must be what it's like to have sex with me.
How could an airboat be selfish?
So we went to pick up Archangel, aka our main man Garrus. That took 48 minutes, but unfortunately I had 4 deaths, mainly because of Vorcha and whatnot, but the Inferno Grenade that I had ended up helping out quite a bit. I, of course, just had to be careful with the flamethrowers and everything. Afterwards, we go pick up Jack, which took about 40 minutes and only 2 deaths. And they were closer to the end of the mission. One just being, getting shot by some random guys in the major room with the Ymir mech. And then once going up against Mordin, what was his last name? Kirill? I want to say Kirill. Afterwards, we went to go recruit the Warlord, aka Grunt's dad, Okir, which took 55 minutes and 4 deaths. Namely, I believe all those deaths were going up against Jador, because Jador is a freaking beast of a character, since she had shields, armor, and health, obviously, and she had a missile launcher with 2 I believe it was 2. It was either 1 or 2 Ymir mechs and a couple of Krogan Berserkers that were charging. So I had to time my shots carefully and pray that I wasn't going to get swarmed by the Krogan. Horizon was like the first big major mission that we had to focus on, of course. That took an hour and 18 minutes, and I ended up getting 12 deaths as a result. Most of them ended up being in the final fight area where you're going against all the husks and the scions. But there was at least 1 death before meeting up with Deland, and then a couple of deaths during, after beating Deland, where we're going up against all the collectors that are in between us and the spaceport, or wherever the cannon was. Either way, though, I had to work my ass off, and one of the better things about this run, at least the fact that it's Mass Effect 2, is the fact that an Inferno Grenade is counted as a power and not as a consumable. So therefore, I could just spam Inferno Grenades a lot, and I ended up getting lucky, actually, with the boss there at the end. Was it called a Praetorian? I'm having trouble remembering stuff. This is literally me recording at 2 in the morning while my family's asleep and while I have the TV sitting on a upnet screen on YouTube, so that way it's not playing any audio, so that way I can just record real quick and get it all done before I eventually do the editing process, which is going to take its own sweet time. And by this point, you've probably seen the Praetorian die, and yeah. Anyways, though, with that guy out of the way, we say our little farewells to Ashley, who we do stay together with. We are not cheating on her for this run because I am a basic bitch. I will not cheat on my Mass Effect 1 romance with a Mass Effect 2 romance. I will always choose one or the other. So I will not cheat on Ashley. And yeah, you'll be seeing her again, obviously, in Mass Effect 3.
Go ahead and say it.
Say what?
How, since we're gonna die in the morning, we should have sex now.
After seeing a tiger get murdered, Lana? No offense, but I'm not really in the mood. I mean, if you want, I can watch while you masturbate. But I can tell you right now, my heart's not gonna be in it. It'll be with that tiger's family.
So, after Horizon was done, we went to go get Tali. That took 56 minutes, 1 death, surprisingly, according to this calculation from me looking through the stuff. But there was 2 resets. The first reset was because I failed to notice, and this ended up being a problem that occurred. You will actually have most of the second set of weapons auto-equipped into your inventory, which is the Prothean particle rifle, not Prothean, the collector particle rifle, the Viper, and the Scimitar, as well as, of course, the Carnifex, which was handed to you by Mordin. The only one that you can actively avoid, or so I thought, was the Vindicator. But we'll get to that in just a little bit.
Son of a bitch! Move!
Get down!
Anyways, with Tali recruited, we headed to Ilium, did some side questing, grabbed some stuff, helped out Liara with her investigation on the Advisor, and then we started off with Thane's recruitment mission, sorry. That took about 55 minutes with 2 deaths. It was kind of a pain to get through it, but I had to, focus on a lot of patience and whatnot. I had Zaeed and Miranda with me, so Miranda was able to strip down the shields of most of the enemies, and Zaeed was able to keep them at bay. But they did die a lot. This run, everyone dies a lot, including me. But at least, recruiting Thane didn't take too long. And, well, it did take long, it's just, it didn't lead to us dying a lot. But we got Thane, and Thane, is a pretty cool character, one of my favorites.
So you're actually kind of nuts, huh?
But how?
Cyborg. I won't bore you with all the details and science, which actually I don't even understand, so...
So, all this time, you knew that I killed Ellis?
Well, I suspected all that stroke of 3 stuff, then you were trying so hard to make Lana look guilty. Helped by Marlon Jerkins over here, just because I was mad at her. I mean, Jesus, I am such an idiot.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, darling. You caught me, didn't you?
Well, yeah, but...
You knew that I was secretly having all these shoots sabotaged because Sandpiper Crane was ensuring the production for 10 times what they could ever make at the box office.
Yes.
Well, bravo, Archer.
Afterwards, we go ahead and get Samara, which took 48 minutes. Also, 2 deaths. That was a fairly standard mission, but at the end of the mission, something unanticipated ended up happening. I, finished up the thing, and before it would go to the screen, a prompt popped up that said, Vindicator. And it turns out, it equipped the Vindicator onto Shepard without my consent. And I could not get rid of the Vindicator until I went to the collector ship. It had auto-equipped it, and I could not get rid of it. So I was down a weapon for the next few missions. And I say the next few because even though I went and did the Lair of the Shadowbroker DLC, it was a lot of... it was like 3 separate missions, basically. So, either way, though, I decided to finish up all the Ilium-related stuff, including side quests and whatnot, and I went and did Miranda's loyalty mission with a prodigal, which took 50 minutes and 4 deaths. Again, I believe most of them were at the boss area, going up against Captain Nyala. I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head. I believe it's Nyala. Either way, though, bitch with the claymore. We got rid of her, though, eventually. It took me standing up to her by myself, though. I think both Miranda and... I forget if it was Zaeed or if I brought along Jack just for her comments. I guess I'll show off if I did do Jack. I'll show, the little scene there of Jack. And if it wasn't, then, ignore this. But yeah. 50 minutes, 4 deaths. Miranda, talked to her sister again. It was fun. Now, to do the entirety of Lair of the Shadowbroker, it took 1 hour and 56 minutes, as well as 3 deaths. I don't fully remember exactly where each of the deaths were, but I believe it was spread out between 1 each mission, and I'm pretty certain that 1 death was going up against the Shadowbroker himself. The Shadowbroker is fairly... well, he's normally fairly easy to deal with, but with the fact that I didn't have my Avenger, I had to use the Katana a lot in order to break through his shields, since Katanas, well, not Katana, but just shotguns in general, end up having shield piercing as an upgrade that you can put to the weapon. And in case anyone's saying that those kinds of upgrades are more like mods, I don't necessarily think so, because mods are something you can switch out between weapons, in my personal opinion. So that's why I was like, yeah, I'm using the upgrades for this run after I got the okay from my friends. I literally only saw 1 comment say not to use the upgrades, and to that person, I can't remember you off the top of your head, I will probably look it up real quick and then put your name in the corner or something. I apologize if you think that I cheated and failed this run, but I am the one who's doing the run, so I kind of made the rules, and once my friends gave me the all clear, I was like, okay. Well, anyways, though, after the Shadowbroker is defeated and we have access to the ship, I quickly fix Jacob and get rid of his incendiary ammo point, so that way he can be just like me.
You get your freaking fucking hands up!
You're not my supervisor!
Would you relax? I'm pretty sure San Marino has universal health care.
We're not. Say the right stuff and they just send you to a mental hospital for 10 months.
Look, no offense, but standing in line for beets and toilet paper isn't my idea of a good time.
Yeah, no sharp objects on the ward. They were super strict about that.
Who was...
She's got a weapon! Drop it!
You're not my supervisor!
Jesus Christ.
Alright, so next up we go to the collector ship. Took 55 minutes and 4 deaths because collectors are ass in this game and I'm always dying to them. And fortunately, grabbing the Revenant, I was able to quickly switch back to the Avenger and continue the run proper. So, just in case you want to know for the future, if you're doing a run and you're playing as a soldier like me, don't be like me and grab that Vindicator so that way you don't end up losing the ability to use the Avenger for a few missions. Anyways though, after I was done with the collector ship, I went to the Volcano Station for Firewalker. That took 8 minutes and 0 deaths. Then I went to the N7 Archaeological Dig Site. That took 11 minutes and surprisingly 0 deaths. Then I went and did Jacob's mission, the Gift of Greatness. That was 53 minutes, and of course Jacob's mission was going to give me a lot of deaths. I died 7 times trying to complete the mission. It was mainly just near the end with the Ymir-mech. Ymir-mechs are so freaking tough. They're probably worse on basic bitch insanity mode because then you can't use ammo powers for yourself. You have to rely on your squad mates using Overload, and even then, they have to let their Overload recharge, and it's just so stressful. But we managed to do it, and Jacob's dad is going to prison for a long time, if I remember correctly. Afterwards, I decided to go ahead and take care of both Thane's and Garrus' missions, so that way I can reset their powers and get rid of their 1 point that gets placed in their ammo powers. Thane obviously was going to be fairly easy. It was 23 minutes and 0 deaths. And yeah, Thane's mission is one of the more fun, non-violent ones because, you know, you can freaking tell Elias Kellum that you'll cut his balls off and sell him to a Krogan.
I'm done being patient. Give me a name or I'll cut your balls off and sell them to a Krogan.
Alright, fucking quit it.
You can tell the one dock worker there that you run into that there's a bomb and that he needs to get out of there.
What am I doing here? What are you doing here?
What?
Do you have any idea how dangerous it is here?
Dangerous?
Get out of here, now, before it blows!
Blows? What the?
Run!
Alright!
I can't believe that actually worked.
It's just always funny. And I was able to do both of those. Well, the, Krogan part, obviously, because that's a Renegade prompt, and not a Renegade dialogue option. As for, being able to say the bomb thing, I was just glad I had enough Renegade for that, since I was doing a mostly Paragon playthrough. Literally the only Renegade-related stuff I did was for loyalty missions, being Zaeed's and Legions, which we'll talk about later. As for Garrus, I also surprisingly did not die, and it took 40 minutes. I was actually pretty sure I was going to end up dying during the 2 Ymir mechs that get dropped on you before you reach Fade, aka Harkin. But surprisingly enough, I was able to take them both out by shooting off one of their heads. And it worked. I guess probably because the 2 Ymir mechs were close in proximity to each other, so they both got taken out, and I was pretty sure I was almost out of sniper rifle, if not out of sniper rifle after that. The Widow was working... Not Widow. Fuck. Why did I say Widow? The Mantis was putting in its work in this run. And it probably will be in Mass Effect 3 as well when I get to that. As for Kasumi, I went ahead and did her mission immediately afterwards, since it was in the same system, I guess. It took 54 minutes, and I only died once near the beginning of the combat phase. But afterwards, getting through the whole place was fairly easy. The only real trouble I ended up having was to deal with Donovan Hawk himself. Because I didn't have you know, any kind of power I could easily just throw out to him that could reach him. Inferno Grenade, I think I did try it once, but like, it doesn't really reach that far, and it doesn't home in like Incinerate, which would have been perfect, but I wasn't playing as Insanity Shepard, I was playing as default John Shepard, so... But we managed to get the gray box back, and because I honestly don't see how it would have worked for destroying it, I went and kept the gray box for Kasumi. Afterwards, I went and did Jack's mission because, again, I had access to the Shadow Broker deals, you know, the Shadow Broker base, so it made sense to go ahead and get her mission out of the way. It took 35 minutes and 4 deaths, and all those deaths were mainly near the beginning when we first encountered the Blood Pack. That was annoying as all hell, but we managed to get through it and even defeat the boss fairly easily. Mostly because, again, I was spamming Inferno Grenades for the most part to get rid of his guards, and then he just ended up eventually coming towards me, and I kept using Concussive Shot and Miranda's Warp to get rid of his barrier, then Inferno Grenade and Miranda's Warp to get rid of his armor. And I think I had Jack pull him at some point, or knock him back with the shockwave, either way though. We took care of him, told the rush to get the hell out of there, and Jack went and said her fond farewells. And of course, since I had a high enough Paragon score, I was able to tell both the ladies, Miranda and Jack, to stop bickering with each other and focus on the real threat. Afterwards, we go ahead and do a couple of N7 missions. First off was Wrecked Merchant Freighter, which took 14 minutes and 0 deaths. And that actually reminds me, there's a weird mechanic that goes on in a couple of Mass Effect 2 missions, namely the Okir mission and this mission, where enemies can just like infinitely respawn in certain areas. For example, in Okir's mission, there's a segment of the map where it just seems like there's an infinite supply of Krogan coming after you. So you need to like clear out whatever Krogan are there, and you need to push yourself forward and get through the place before the other Krogan start overwhelming you. And it was the same for here. I actually like kind of stayed around a little bit just to see if I could get rid of all of the I want to say it was Loki mechs. Yeah, Loki mechs. Because it was Fenris for the smaller ones, Ymir for the big ones, it's Loki for the main ones. And yeah, it seems like they kept respawning, so eventually I just got back on the ship and left. Afterwards, I immediately followed it up with the N7 Abandoned Research Station. Again, that was 6 minutes, and I got 0 deaths. So the next part was the N7 Eclipse Smuggling Depot, and this is one of those missions where it was absolute hell. It's a mission that you can only really get done like maybe... Well, actually, if you have a cane, you can easily get that done in under a minute, if you're lucky. But I was not lucky. So it took me 32 minutes to complete this mission, and I had 15 deaths along the way. It is 3 Ymir mechs back to back that are hunting you down, and I had no real strategy to get rid of them because taking cover ended up not being too much of an option. So eventually I had to lure them to my ship and run around it while gunning down their shields and armor and health as much as I possibly could. And a couple of times I ended up getting swarmed by 2 mechs at once. So yeah, if husks were the bane of my existence in Mass Effect 1, Ymir mechs are the bane of my existence in Mass Effect 2. Any mission that gives me more than one at a time to deal with the exception of Garrus' mission, I just could not deal with them. Anyways, we go ahead and go to Tuchanka finally, and meet up with Rex, you know, most badass Krogan ever. And we go ahead and do Grunt's mission first. It takes about 30 minutes with 0 deaths. And then I immediately followed up with Mordin's mission, which took 46 minutes roughly, and there was only 1 death going up against Warlock Gold. And the laptop also crashed in the middle of the cutscene between Mordin and Malin. Like, it literally crashed, and I had to restart my entire laptop in order to get the rest of the mission completed. It was that kind of crash, and it was annoying as fuck.
What is it with serial killers and skin?
I'm not a serial killer.
Wait, why'd you emphasize serial?
I did what?
Afterwards, Tali's mission, Treason there, was done. It took about an hour and 8 minutes. Most of it, of course, was the dialogue stuff on board the ships. And when I went on the Alarai, I had 2 deaths. And they were just at random places when I got swarmed by Geth. But fortunately, taking care of the Geth Prime didn't end up being an issue. So I was able to get that done and, you know, prove Tali's innocence. Therefore, rescuing her father's legacy so that way he wasn't, you know, shunned as a monster to all of his people for reactivating Geth and using them as live subjects for his experiments. Yeah, that's kind of a downer there, Rail. Afterwards, I did Samara's mission, along with the major side quests that I missed out on Omega, because I didn't really focus on that at the beginning. Samara's mission took 21 minutes with 0 deaths, and I also have to take back a previous statement I made. In Mass Effect 1, I said that I, couldn't convince Helena Blake to disband the Syndicate, and so I didn't think she would actually appear in Mass Effect 2, but it turns out I was wrong. She does appear in Mass Effect 2, it's just her reasoning for being on Omega is different.
I'm sorry. I know that was important, but you performed Gilbert and Sullivan?
I am the very model of a scientist Solarian. I've studied species Turian, Asari, and Batarian. I'm quite good at genetics as a subset of biology because I am an expert, which I know is a tautology. My xenoscience studies range from urban to agrarian. I am the very model of a scientist Solarian.
Thanks for sharing what you've learned, Mordin.
Proud to be here, Shepard. Thank you for including me.
After that, I just went and kind of went through a bunch of the other N7 missions and the Firewalker missions, starting off with the MSV Strontium Mule. That took 17 minutes with 0 deaths. The Lost Operative mission immediately afterwards, which took 9 minutes, 0 deaths. The Captured Mining Facility, 16 minutes, 1 death. The Blood Pack Communications Relay, 12 minutes, 0 deaths. The Javelin Missiles launch, 6 minutes, 0 deaths. The Blue Sun's base is one of the other ones that ended up being difficult because, again, 2 Ymir mechs. That took me 53 minutes and 12 deaths. The Hanai Keter Facility, 21 minutes, 2 deaths. MSV Estevanico, I believe is how you pronounce that. I might have said it wrong, I don't know. 4 minutes, 0 deaths. N7 Abandoned Mine, 8 minutes, 1 death. Mostly because, you got a bunch of husks running around, and also, what the hell is up with that husk at the end of the cutscene there? It seems to not always do that, or at the very least it didn't do that in the original Mass Effect 2 because I see a picture of it. But something's happened to this poor husk's arm, what is going on? The Blood Pack base, 9 minutes, 0 deaths. And I couldn't just immediately finish that one off with a cane like I did in the Insanity playthrough for, with Insanity Shepard. Imminent Ship Crash, 5 minutes, 0 deaths. That one was fairly easy to contend with. Anomalous Weather Detected, 24 minutes, 1 death. That was a salty run back after that 1 death. Afterwards, we did Firewalker Survey Sites Located, 20 minutes, 0 deaths, and I am honestly confused by the naming, because the Survey Sites mission is the one where you deal with the Geth, but the one I did afterwards, the Geth Activity, that's the one with the Snowy mission. That was 3 minutes, 0 deaths, but I did not encounter a single Geth in that mission, so I'm very confused. Next up was the N7 Quarrying Crash Site, which took 16 minutes. Another mission that should only really take like 4. And it took 16 because I ended up having 13 fails. Now I say fails because I didn't actually die. I wasn't the one who was dying, it was the Quarian, and it turns out some of them were my fault. Oh yeah, and here's this funny little glitch that happened at the end of the mission when I finally managed to complete it. After that, we complete the Firewalker DLC by going to the Prothean site, which took about 9 minutes and 0 deaths, mostly because I was running around and trying to avoid getting blasted by gas turrets. But, you know, getting a cool little Prothean orb to put in your room, that's always fun. Afterwards, I did the Endangered Research Station, which was a fun little break from dying a lot, since that, you know, is a solo mission that you can do. That took 3 minutes with 0 deaths. Then I did the Mining in the Canyon mission, 5 minutes, 0 deaths. That was pretty good. And finally, we get back to main story missions as we go for the Reaper IFF. That took 51 minutes, and I'm not sure I'm remembering this right, because obviously I've looked through the footage, but I guess I only ended up having 1 death. Again, I'm not sure that's right. I don't know, it just doesn't feel right.
Oh my god, these Odin dicks. Hey, where'd you get your turtleneck? The turtleneck store? Are you shitting me?
Ah well. Either way though, I acquired the IFF, and obviously we kept to Legion because, well, why wouldn't you? You only really wouldn't keep Legion if you're like trying to do a run where everyone dies, which only a few people I've seen have done it, and even then, I don't always like to watch those runs. Afterwards, we do Legion's loyalty mission, Friend or Foe. That took 45 minutes and 7 deaths. That was kind of annoying, but we had like Tali launch, she had Energy Drain, I had Legion focused on AI hacking, because I never actually use AI hacking in Mass Effect 2, with the exception of the few missions I bring Legion along for. As for the suicide mission, that was brutal, and unfortunately another issue ended up occurring during it. So I mean, like, after of course you start off the thing, Shepard, you know, looks at Ashley's picture, and then we're getting ready for the mission. We see all the awesome cutscenes. We go through the fight with the little boarding eye that came on, and we died once to that thing. And then of course the suicide mission proper gets started. We go through all that, and then I find out my recording software stopped recording just as the third act of the suicide mission was starting. So I had to replay through the whole thing. Well, almost the whole thing. Obviously I could skip out on fighting against the intruder on the Normandy, and we was just at the beginning of the suicide mission proper. But to get through the entirety of the suicide mission, it ended up being 1 hour and 18 minutes, so kind of similar, I believe, to Horizon. Yeah, 1 hour 18 minutes is what I have written on the sheet here too, and I had 8 deaths in total compared to Horizon's 12 deaths. So I had 1/3 less amount of deaths going up against the collectors on the suicide mission, which I guess shows progress. However, there was an annoying thing, which is that in the footage that was lost, I actually managed to complete the third act of the suicide mission without dying, but in the footage I had to record to replace it, I had died once. So that was really annoying. However, fighting against the Reaper larva there, that we were, you know, the human Reaper larva, that was actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I mostly just mounted down with my assault rifle until eventually I almost ran out of ammo, and then when I got his health down low enough, I used the grenade launcher to finish him off. I had not Garrus, I had Thane and Zaeed with me, and they were doing some pretty decent work whenever they weren't getting killed off by collectors. And yeah, we blew up the base, survived the mission, proved, you know, that Mass Effect 2 can be beaten on basic bitch insanity mode. However, as you have probably noticed, I decided to save 2 of the DLCs for last, instead of doing them before the suicide mission. Let's talk about Arrival first. So immediately after I completed the suicide mission the second time, I went and started Arrival. You are not going to believe me when I say this. The overall time for Arrival was 2 hours and 28 minutes. And you will not believe me if I tell you, so instead I'm going to show you why that is the time.
Safety protocol disengaged. Core temperature rising.
Taking fire.
I freaking died while the game was saving, and for whatever reason, it decided to send me all the way back to the beginning. You have no idea how frustrated I was with that. So I ended up having to run through it as quickly as possible, fortunately not dying as much as I did the first run, but still dying a couple of times as I got past the part that I died on before. And the overall total of deaths to complete the Arrival DLC was 11. But yeah, Arrival is definitely not my favorite DLC, especially since there's already someone out there who's explained, in their opinion, all the flaws of the DLC. So I ended up, you know, kind of starting to agree with him, but not necessarily. And yeah, Arrival is a complete nightmare. It was one of the things that made this run scary. Finally, I do Overlord last. It's just kind of my own thing where I decided to do Overlord last. I don't fully know why. It took an hour and 49 minutes, and I had 10 deaths. Most of them were while I was using the Hammerhead of all things, going for the Cerberus data packets that were not really important, but I went and got them anyway. Oh, and one for minerals that I did decide to say, nope, fuck that after dying the first time. But getting through David's mission actually turned out to be fairly easy. I would just, you know, use the assault rifle to get through all of his little uploading network things, and then as soon as his shields would go down, I'd just pull out the grenade launcher and strip through his armor. It took obviously longer than it would if I just had the cane, but whatever. I got through it. We didn't give David radiation poisoning, so yeah, we ended up saving David. And yeah, that was Mass Effect 2, Basic Bitch Insanity Mode. What an absolute shit show. So I'm gonna take just a tiny little break. Like, I know that it took me a little over 4 months to get this out to you after uploading the Basic Bitch Insanity 1 video, and I do apologize for that. Part of it was not because of the difficulty of the challenge itself, it was more so because I was working on another project, and I was working on other things. For now, a quick little update on when Mass Effect 3 Basic Bitch Insanity will at least be started. I'm going to take about a 2-week break after this video is uploaded, just to focus on, one, doing another challenge run that I've started, which is something I've been streaming on the Xbox Series X, and then I also want to quickly record some more stuff for my regular playthroughs. I kind of want to go back to Destiny 2, which I've taken a big break from, one, because the game's getting a little bit boring, and two, because I wanted to play other stuff. And I will also continue Doom Eternal because I really want to get that done, so that way I can start up another run because I'm really in the mood to play Lies of P. So yeah, I'm gonna do another challenge run, you know, before I get to Mass Effect 3 Basic Bitch Insanity. And since you guys are gonna have time, I want to weigh in on your opinion for Mass Effect 3. Do you think that the M7 Lancer should be allowed for the run as well, at least for the last few missions, considering that 1, it was a starter weapon in Mass Effect 1, and 2, it's basically the same as the Avenger? Let me know in the comments what you think. As for when you can expect to see more updates on... I also have other ideas for challenge runs. I'm considering doing the idea of Basic Bitch Insanity in a completely different game, that being Assassin's Creed Origins, which there's a couple other challenges I could potentially do, you know, sort of like as jokes, like can you beat Assassin's Creed Valhalla as the shield hero? Can you beat Assassin's Creed Odyssey as the spear hero? Can you beat Assassin's Creed Origins as the bow hero? You know, just like fun little ideas that we could also be doing. And like whenever I get to Watch Dogs Legion after I complete it, I might also consider doing can you beat Watch Dogs Legion with only the starting character on a permadeath mode? That just sounds like a pretty interesting idea. If I make the thumbnails for these ideas, I'll show them off in the video. I probably will, because come on, that's just a really awesome idea in general. But yeah, the next challenge run you guys are going to end up seeing me do on the channel is going to be, you know, playing through Dark Souls as Asta from Black Clover, because he's one of my favorite characters, and also because playing through Dark Souls as Guts is kind of an overdone thing at this point. So yeah, I'll upload that one somewhat soon, and I hope you guys will enjoy. And if you watch any of my other content, I hope you guys have been enjoying that as well. So yeah, if you've enjoyed watching Basic Bitch Insanity Part 2, be sure to do the usual accolades, like, comment, share, subscribe if you're new, follow me on Twitch if you haven't already, and if you didn't like, dislikes not going to make that much of a difference to me. So thank you all so much for watching, I'll see you next time. Peace out, Spartans.
What else? We got any lube? Like at this point, even olive oil would help me get that drawer unstuck.